Flood Protection Secrets, the podcast to the protection against heavy rain and flooding by Dr. Flood Andreas Klippe.
So the big challenge is, how can house owners like you and me get a flood-free home? How can business managers like you and me get a flood-free company? And how can public servants provide flood-free critical infrastructure and livable cities?
Flood Protection Secrets, the podcast by Dr. Flood Andreas Klippe. This podcast is for foresighted and proactive people who do not want to shovel the muddy water out of their room while standing in the midst of the disaster.
Therefore, those who design and plan, the architects and engineers, need to construct such buildings and cities, and that even when the entire environment is completely flooded. That is a challenge, and this podcast will give the answers.
Flood Protection Secrets, the podcast by Dr. Flood Andreas Klippe.
Hello listeners, I'm Andreas Klippe, and the title of today's episode is Cherry Blossom and Flooding at Springtime. Yes, the extremely high temperature of the oceans is fueling the storms with heavy rain. And wintertime is leaving, springtime is coming. So what is the story about? And yes, today, while I record this podcast, it is indeed, while I am in Germany, in Europe, it is the first day of springtime. It is the 20th of March. And we celebrate the beginning of springtime. And the beginning of spring marks the astronomical start of spring. So that was sometimes before the 21st of March, and now it's the 20th. That has to do with a moon, etc. So over the centuries, it's a little bit varying, but it's always around the 20th and the 21st. And it is a period of equinox, when the sun is vertical above the equator. And day and night are then of equal length, so each lasting 12 hours. Oh, and that's beautiful, because whoever was in Europe already knows that in wintertime the nights are very long, and the more north you go, to Sweden, to Norway, Finland, and the nights are really long, sometimes without sunlight. So, and before I talk about the impact on flooding, and the cherry blossom, of course, I just want to tell you there are 3 different types of springtime. And perhaps for those who live especially in Southeast Asia, in the Philippines, or in Thailand or Malaysia, Singapore, they don't know about the 4 seasons, because they only have the summer and the rainy season, more or less. And there is not this winter time and this springtime. Now, in China, they have, because there's a lot of snow, and in Japan, of course, they also have. In Japan, there's the same seasonal arrangement of spring, summer, fall, and winter. Sometimes they also call it autumn instead of fall. It's more or less similar to what we have in Western Europe. So there are 3 things of, it's a little bit, university school time today. But I was curious, so I was also looking what is happening around me. And after this beautiful day today, with all the sunshine and the light, and you can see that something is going on in the gardens. And there is the first springtime that is called the meteorological springtime, and that depends on the weather statistics. So the weathermen, they divide the year into 4 calendar quarters, and that follows the Gregorian calendar. And that is winter, December, January, February. That is March. That is springtime. That is February. That is March. March, April, and May. Summer is June, July, August, and winter September, October, November, and December. I think something was wrong with my. Anyway, always 3 months, and spring is starting in March, April, and May. So, and then there is the astrological springtime. That is what I mentioned before. So we have equinox. The daytime is equal to nighttime, and the declination of the sun is 0. So I also had to look because I was not sure. Yeah, and I think I didn't. That was not a topic during my engineering studies at the Technical University of Berlin. The solar equinox is a moment in time when the sun appears directly above the equator, rather than to its north or south. And on the day of the equinox, the sun appears to rise directly east and set directly west. This occurs twice each year, around the 20th of March and the 23rd of September. That is not me who wrote that. I just read what I found at Wikipedia, and I studied some other sources to be sure about it. And then we have the third springtime expression. That is a phenomenological spring, and that depends on the blossom of the plants, the nature seasonal clock. And in Germany, I was checking, and I could see that today, or since a while already, you can see these snowdrops in the garden. These small flowers, very beautiful snowdrops, and that is called the early spring, and that is still ongoing. And the people also say it is a hazelnut blossom. I have a hazelnut tree in my garden here in Germany, but to be honest, I checked it today. Nothing happens for the moment because springtime has started today. Perhaps that is a reason. And then there comes the first spring. That is the forsythia blossom. These bushes already become a little bit yellow. And then the full spring, that is when the apple trees, the lilac and the horse chestnut blossom, oak and hornbeam foliage unfurl. And in Japan, we know it from the cherry blossom. So already in March, April, May, you can see already. It depends on the location, and that is of course worldwide appreciated. So the cherry blossom is considered the national flower of Japan, and that is a little bit springtime. And I call it the title is called Cherry Blossom and the Flooding at Springtime. Now I was only talking about springtime for the moment. So, what does it mean? The season become more and more extreme, or the seasons become more and more extreme, and including, of course, springtime. And the average temperature of the planet has grown compared to the pre-industrial century around, let's say 1860. However, industry started already at about 1770. So it's not really clear what is a pre-industrial era, but the weathermen, they consider it from 1850 to 1900, something like that. It depends. And the weather data normally is existing, at least here in Europe. I think it's starting, so 1890, 1886, or 1890, something around like that. So, but anyway, that is just the pre-industrial century, and we compare the weather situation with this pre-industrial century when we started to burn extremely a lot and a lot of carbon. And so what does it mean? More temperature of the air means, or higher temperature of the air means also higher temperature of the oceans. One example, everybody knows that very well. In the morning, normally, most of the people, they drink tea or coffee in the morning. Most of them, all over the world. And what do you do to get good coffee and good tea? You need boiling water. So you have to heat your water. You take the water from the faucet here in parts of Germany. You can drink it from the faucet because the water treatment plants are fantastic with biological treatments. So I grew up with water from the faucet. In other countries where the water quality is not that good and a lot of bacteria inside, better don't drink it. So you will get your water from the water bottles. It's more expensive, yes. However, the system is the same. You need to boil it, and then starts evaporation. So that means when you stay in your kitchen in the morning and you turn on the water heater for your coffee or your tea, then after a while you will have some bubbles. You see it already. Oh, the water starts to boil now, and that creates some steam. So if it is an open pot, for instance, then you can see the steam. If you have a water heater that is closed, it takes a while, but there's always a small opening at the top, and that is where the steam gets out, and then you can see it. So there is a little bit steam in your kitchen, and the hot water for your coffee and for your tea does not influence the environment much. It's only a little bit in your kitchen. But imagine now that you are in a wet sauna, this cold sauna with a lot of steam around you. That means you cannot see the other side of the sauna because there's so much steam, and it's like invisible. Everybody gets invisible, and that means this evaporation, this steam, affects the environment. That has an influence on the environment, and the thing is, the warmer the water is, the more evaporates. The more it evaporates, and the more water is in the air. Reasonable, huh? The more water heaters you put in your kitchen. Imagine you cook the tea and the coffee for the whole building. Perhaps you have 50 people living in your condominium building, and you make the coffee and the tea for everybody. You need a lot of water heaters, and that will create a lot of steam. And this water is in the air in your kitchen. And later you really need to open the window to let the water out. If not, you will have the moist immediately. That's a big problem. So there is a lot of water in the air, and that means a lot of power. And in reality, in nature, when the water evaporates from the ocean, because the ocean is getting warmer and warmer, you have more clouds. And the clouds move to the land, they make landfall, and it's raining. And now it rains more powerfully, longer, with more water per square meter, more rain in your small kitchen. It's similar, huh? But this rain in the environment outside, it's in your garden, it's in the street, and where shall it go to? Yeah, that's a problem. In your kitchen, you can open the window, and the air draft might blow away the steam. And then you don't face any problem anymore. But perhaps the steam will go somewhere else, and then it will. If that would be a cloud, it would rain in the neighborhood. Huh? But in reality, that doesn't work, because if the air draft is too weak, in reality, in Mother Nature, the clouds, they stay above you and continues to rain. So what I want to say is, when you go to your garden or to the street and the clouds are above your area where you live, where you stay at the moment, and they don't move because the air draft is too weak. And that depends on the jet stream, by the way. That is a wind system that keeps the wind running and blowing all over our planet. And that is another phenomena, but I don't want to discuss it right now. Then, if this wind, this air draft is getting weaker, then the clouds stay where they are. They don't move on. They don't disappear. They stay where they are, and it continuously rains. And there's a lot of rain because, do you remember, you made a lot of coffee, you made a lot of tea, so there's a lot of water in the air because your water heater are the oceans, and they are warmer than before. More than 1 degree and even more. The average temperature on this planet has increased compared to the pre-industrial era, more than 1 degree Celsius. And the oceans even more. The Mediterranean, I think it's more than 2.5 or 2.6 degrees. That was last year. And that creates a lot of heavy rain. So, and it is not only raining more per square meter, it also takes longer because the wind is weaker. Not all the time, but more often. and both together add up. And the soil cannot cater the masses of rainwater, you get flooded, especially in big cities like what happened in Dubai in April 16, 2024, or I think it was October 26, 2023 in Doha in Qatar, and regularly in Vietnam, in China, in Japan, and in Korea and in the Philippines, and on all other continents, in Australia recently, in the south of Spain, in Andalus just now, during the last days. So even the best drainage system in the world cannot handle these masses of water, and the world has not designed drainage systems that are made for these water masses, because it is simply too huge. So the result, you get flooded. So better protect yourself and do not rely on third parties like the neighbor, the municipality, or the national government. Yes, they always tell you something, they will work on that and they will improve it. But to be honest, how long does it take? And how about your risk in the meantime? And what if it doesn't work? So you rely on somebody else. We had a customer in the Philippines who lived in one of these rich housing areas, and in Metro Manila and in Alabang. And he said, I'm at the bottom, at the end of one street, and that is like it's a catch basin. Huh? The water always ends there. But the government told him to improve everything. But then they didn't, and then he got flooded. His BMW, his Mercedes was flooded. And the costs were only for one car that was far beyond 10,000 euros. That was much more, only for the Mercedes. And that is not much, because it can be that you have a total loss of cars. I think he did not tell me the whole truth. And the result was, he said, I don't want to rely on anybody anymore, because I cannot control. It's out of my control. I want to control my own safety, the safety of my family, the safety of my house, my beautiful inventory, my living room, my television, my carpet, my garage with my cars, and the beautiful flourishing garden that my wife has made over the years. And that is why he invested in flood barriers. And that is the solution. Use modern flood barriers to close the gaps. The gaps means where the water can get in. So the points of water ingress, the entrances, when it comes to buildings. And you can use the 4 types of barriers. That's my tip for you today. Number 1 are portable flood barriers. Number 2 are flood doors and flood gates. Number 3 are automatic systems. And number 4 are glass paneled flood barriers, permanently installed. And you can protect your entrances, or you can redirect the water. If you put water barriers, mobile water barriers across the street, then you redirect it. You lead the water away. You redirect it away from your municipality to another area. And you will be safe from the danger of heavy rain and floodings, and you become independent of the weather and the climate, like what our customer has done before. And you become independent of what will happen in the future. Now the future is a springtime that is coming. And then comes the summertime, and I guarantee you there will be many, many flooding events. I will summarize it a little bit and talk about it, but it's always the same. The disaster is everywhere, and the people lose most of the time everything. And all their hard-earned money is gone. Be assured, the temperature of the planet, and especially the oceans, will continue to increase, and you can expect more rain and more frequent rainfall. So my advice is, do what many people have done in more than 35 countries, at least. These are our customers. For the private homeowners, protect your home. For the business managers among you, protect your company. For government servants, protect the critical infrastructure and your society. And I don't want to end without sharing a golden nugget with you. So do not start to procure flood barriers, please. Perhaps some people now say, oh, Dr. Andy, he is getting crazy because he's telling the people not to procure flood barriers, but he's always telling, hey, buy flood barriers, install them, invest in your safety. Do not start to procure flood barriers. Would you order your sofa and the kitchen before you even know how your building will look like? That's my question. Would you order a sofa and the kitchen before you even know about how your building will look like? You might say, okay, my building is existing already. But it can be that the flood barrier installation comes with a lot of civil works. So flood protection always starts with a project planning, an engineering assessment, a technical inspection. And that is more than just running around and making some photos and measuring the entrance. No. That delivers you the designs, the type of technology, the civil works, the timeline, and the costs, the budget. And my golden nugget for you is therefore invest in good planning first. If you want to know more about that, please contact me directly. That was my golden nugget. And I hope it was interesting for you to learn a little bit about the springtime. Also for me, it was interesting. And I really enjoyed this coming springtime here in Germany, where I just record this episode. And I invite you, contact me. Perhaps you can meet me here if I'm not in Asia. And then I show you around a little bit. And I can also help you with solutions, especially for the planning for your flood protection project. So if this flood protection episode has inspired you to rethink your approach to flood protection, stay tuned for more episodes like this, and don't forget to subscribe for more insights from the world of flood protection. For personal guidance, reach out to us or to me. My name is Andreas Klippe. Stay safe and flood free. I wish and hope for you that you make the right decisions when it comes to your personal flood protection. And if you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to this podcast channel if you haven't already. Now it only remains for me to wish you a good day. Do something with it. Maybe until the next podcast episode. I would be very happy. See you then. As always, stay safe and flood free. Your Andreas Klippe and the whole Flood Experts team.
That's it again with the new episode of Flood Protection Secrets, the podcast by Dr. Flood Andreas Klippe, German engineer, book author, and head of the Flood Experts. What can Dr. Flood Andreas Klippe protect for you? Anytime? Worldwide? Contact us or just click through to www.floodexperts.de/bonus. Detailed engineering, German quality, safe. Flood protection secrets. The secrets you'll want to unfold.
Don't forget, you're only one flood barrier away.
Subscribe to the season, and you'll never be late for an episode.